Hi, Elle Ingalls here at elleingles.com and welcome to Living Pressure Free with Elle. This is my daily show to give you some little tips and insights into stress, anger, anxiety, overwhelm, how to perform at a higher level. And I want to start with that today. We're going to dive into chronic mental and physical conditions and ailments and disease. It's a huge subject, right? We're just going to touch on it here. But I was reminded today when I was talking with someone that when I initially created the pressure-free method, the whole purpose of it was to help people perform at a higher level, whether that was academically, whether it was musically, whether it was athletically, whether it was on the job, to get a promotion, to have higher health. So it was always performance oriented, to take something to another level. One of the things that keeps us locked and prevents us from being able to do that is when you are locked in the stress cycle. Most people are unaware that there is a stress cycle. So I want to start with that today, because if you have a mental ailment or condition that's chronic, it's going through time, it's like not stopping, or the same thing with a physical ailment that's continuing through time. So if you have an autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia, heart disease, problems with IBS, colitis, anything like that, those are all going through time. They're not going away. And the same thing with a mental situation. So if you have if you're high anxiety, you have a lot of anxiety, you have anything that's just that you feel is like taking you out of your game. You're not quite fully functioning. When you take a test, if you're a student or an adult taking a test, you feel like, why can't I actually share what I know? What's going on there? So chronic, that's what I want you to concentrate on. Anything that's chronic. For me, I had eczema on my hands. This hand in particular for 35 years, from age 13. I had my first big violin competition at 13, and this hand broke out in eczema. So that was a condition I had every day. It never went away for 35 years until the pressure-free method, till I created this method. And it was because I was locked in the stress cycle. So I want to explain the stress cycle for you so you really get it. Because most of us, like, you can have an incident happen where you're a little stressed for a moment, but then you feel okay a little while later, but your cells aren't okay. And that's what I want to talk about. I want you to get into like cellular health here for a moment. So if you trigger the fight or flight stress response for any reason, like for me, it's little annoyances. Like right now, I just a whole bunch of little speaking videos and I've got sticky notes everywhere. I don't really like sticky notes all over the place. So I'm going to clean that up. That's an annoyance for me. So what makes you feel annoyed or angry? What makes you feel anxious or afraid? Some people don't put those in the same bucket. So any sort of anxieties and any sort of fears, what makes you feel afraid? And then any sort of shame. So when you start to feel any of those kinds of emotions, and also overexcited, if you like get super jacked about something, you're gonna release too much adrenaline. You know that word, adrenaline. Most people know that word. So adrenaline is the first, it's actually a cocktail. I like to say you're under the influence. The first flood of hormones that goes out, adrenaline is the chief one, okay, but it is a cocktail. It causes all kinds of things to happen in your body. I can't go deeply in that. It takes a whole hour to explain that. But basically, you're now under the influence and you're in the stress cycle. You're at the beginning of it. So now you've triggered these stress hormones, and they're going to go out and do all these effects to your body, and then also have side effects. Once your brain says and your body says, oh, I don't have to worry anymore, a second flood of hormones is going to go out. It's all dependent on how much flood the first one out, how much the second goes out. It's all very balanced to help you out, right? And how long it takes is very individual, but it can take up to 9 hours for a male and up to 24 hours for a female for these two floods of hormones to do all their work and have all the side effects, and then finally get cleared out of your cells. This is why you might try to go to sleep and have a lot of hours that you're sleeping, but still wake up fatigued. If your body was spending the whole night trying to get rid of those stress hormones, it's going to be exhausted. it's not going to be renewing and rejuvenating and regenerating. It was taking all that time just trying to deal with these two cocktails of hormones that you released inside your bloodstream and went out to every cell of your body. So the stress cycle is the thing that we need to break to help you start to reduce anything that's chronic for you. So chronic inflammation, chronic heart disease, chronic anything. By the way, with cancers and ulcers, anything bacterial, viral infections of any kind, cancers, etc., thrive in an acid environment. The moment you're in that fight or flight stress cycle, you have created a really acid body. So your body's going to have a real hard time trying to heal when you're in that situation. So breaking the stress cycle is the key. If you can break it, and when I say break it, that means you got to go a whole 9 hours if you're a male, a whole 24 hours if you're a female, without triggering. Then when you go to sleep that night, your body is truly rejuvenating. It's truly renewing. Your cells are able to do their work because they're not compromised by all of these stress hormones. Stress hormones are the enemy. You know, you'll hear some people say that you need them for this, you need them, but in the end, they do so much debilitating to your mind and to your body and create such an acidity in your body that they're really not that good for you. So if you can break that stress cycle, which is what I help people do, it's just incredible. I cried when my eczema went away. I did. It was like 35 years of cracked and bleeding knuckles. Doesn't look so good on a violin bow, by the way. It's not very pretty. And to be able to touch this finger and actually touch the skin, like I cried. My husband came in going, like, honey, look at this. I couldn't believe it. I was incredulous about it. And so breaking the stress cycle, I look at my clients and what happens for them. I have clients who've been trying to lose weight for years, and we finally break the stress cycle and their willpower comes back. So much happens for them when they can do that. And someone's giving me a bunch of love. I really think it. Is that you, Jacqueline? Thank you. I got Michelle, Dave, Amy. Thank you so much for coming on. So breaking the stress cycle, that is the number one thing that can help you reduce any sort of chronic ailment or chronic disease in your body or in your brain, in your mind. Stress hormones are going to keep you locked mentally in a very not so good place. A very not so good place, because once you trigger the stress response, you're vulnerable to trigger again and again and again and keep that cycle just going and going and going and never ending. When I was really honest with myself back in 2010, I'm like, when was the last time I was clean of these hormones? Probably age 2. Because at least once a day I'd feel angry, anxious, annoyed, ashamed, or afraid, right? So I was just locked in it. And it's, you know, I ground my teeth. I had all kinds of things that were chronic and going on. And it's so cool. I think about my husband. He would get bronchitis. I called it the H season, hockey and hunting, right? He would get bronchitis every fall. Since we become pressure free, he can't even remember the last time he had it. So anything that it can be seasonal too. In fact, I was just recalling, I'm writing a book right now, Pressure Free Parenting, and I was recalling in the book how I had a 10-year-old client. Yes, I will work with someone as young as 10 if they are, if they're a high performer, like they want to make something amazing happen in their life. I can tell that their commitment is there to do the pressure free method. So I had a 10-year-old client, and one of his things was that he had terrible allergies. And I could feel the disbelief in the room at the beginning of our work together that, like, we're not going to get rid of these allergies. Elle can't possibly help us with that. Well, 6 weeks later, I said, so tell me, how are we were doing a review, right? How are the allergies? What allergies? Like, no more allergies. No more need for the asthma medicine. Asthma, allergies, the throat closing, that happens every time you go in fight or flight. That's why kids will be fine. Like if you have someone who has asthma, they'll be fine in practice, but you'll get to the game and they'll need their medication. You know, if you're a parent, watch your kids. If you're an adult with a chronic situation, watch yourself. Watch the events that cause you to have to pop a pill or take your asthma medicine or something, because you're feeling that out of control feeling. Something's happening to you. That thing that's happening to you is the stress cycle. And if we can get people to break it around the world, we'll have so much fewer problems, so much fewer domestic abuse problems, child abuse problems. Like, you won't yell at your kids so much if you're not overreacting in fight or flight. It just doesn't happen. So it's not just physical, it's mental also. And it helps your relationships so much too. I can't believe the changes in my relationships, because I would get bitchy and bossy when I went under the line. Couldn't help it. You're threatened when you're in the fight or flight stress cycle. So the stress cycle is the thing we got to break. I hope that message is coming through. Said it a few times, but that's the one that I really wanted to share today, especially if you know someone's suffering. There's so much unnecessary suffering for mental anguish and physical chronic disease just because of these stress hormones. That is the key. And if we can just start breaking that stress cycle, even just a little bit, and you start to feel some relief, it's really phenomenal. It's really exciting. And that's why I do what I do. That's my motivation, because every time I can help someone with that, help someone stay in remission from cancer, there's nothing more amazing. I lost my mom to breast cancer. I lost my dad to heart disease. He had diabetes and heart disease. And I wish I could have shared this with them, because I think they'd still be alive today if I could have shared this with them. So whenever I have a client that has some of those issues, I'm just like on fire to help them. I'm on fire with all my clients. If you ask them, they'll tell you. I get so excited to see what's possible for them. And so thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for all that love. I really love it. And wishing you a great pressure-free night. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.